Feel most of our my nieces and nephews actually look up to the business and have this emotional attachment and this pride in Iwan Maktabi.
Your business is so, and I'm going to weave it into the conversation about for
Literally.
the nation.
My hometown is Beirut, and I'm always a little bit homesick for Beirut. Of course, I think you also adore Cairo, even if
sure.
you don't want to live there today. We love the chaos, we love the aj'a, we love the...
For 5 days. Welcome to the Lighthouse Conversations. This is a podcast featuring entrepreneurs and tastemakers from the worlds of arts, culture, tech, and food. I'm your host, Hashem. If you're joining us for the first time today, hit the follow button in your podcast player to get alerted when we have a brand new episode. If you're using Apple Podcasts, for example, it's the plus sign in the top right corner. You can also listen to our extensive catalog of previous episodes in your podcast app or on our website at thelighthouse.ae/podcast. This is my attempt to enunciate. I'm joined today by Mohamed Maktabi, the CEO of Iwan Maktabi, a third-generation business that was started by his grandfather, Hashem Maktabi, who immigrated from Iran and reached Lebanon through Syria in 1911. We talk about how the business has evolved since then, how the family's second brand, Iwan Maktabi, started out, and continues to evolve and thrive to this day. We also talk about why he decided to move to Dubai after the 2020 Beirut explosion. Mohamed, so nice to have you here.
It's nice to be here.
This has been a long time coming. I've been obviously following you and following your family's business for many, many years. We're reminiscing about the early days, well, not early so much, but some, way back over 10 years in Beirut. I want to start at this particular point because your family history is so intertwined with the region's history in many ways. I was going to say just Lebanon, but it's actually not the case, as you've educated me. So it actually has been intertwined with a lot of what's happened in the region, good and bad. So let's get from a starting point when you started with this business. At the time, your father was in charge of the business?
My father with his siblings, yes.
And they were second generation.
They were second generation. So the first generation was my grandfather, who immigrated from Isfahan in Iran to Syria because he used to do commerce between Baghdad and Damascus. So he immigrated there, and then from there moved to Beirut.
What year did he move to Beirut?
1911.
Okay, wow. Okay.
So this is where my father was born en route in Damascus, but the rest of his brothers, they were 7 in total, were born in Beirut.
Okay.
So that was, my grandfather was the first generation. My fathers and his brothers were the second generation. And then me and my 5 sisters
Are the third
generation.
And the business obviously started like a lot of trading businesses, which makes sense. So they were sourcing probably mostly from Iran, bringing to the Levant and selling as one would.
I have memory of a letter I saw with my father that was written by my grandfather, and that was to be sent to a provider in Kashan. So my grandfather was ordering, I want, for example, 10 Kashan carpets, dark and blue, in size 3x2. I want 15 in this size. So they were, it was like a commodity.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were not seeing the carpets or inspecting them. There was certain types, and they were ordering them.
And they were bringing them to the Levant, and you were selling them at the time, trade sales, or was there always a retail shop from the beginning?
No, Beirut stores were either in the free zone, in the port of Beirut, where there were a lot of tourists coming all over the world and buying carpets, and they were being shipped all over the world, or retail store in Hamra district, Hamra Beirut.
Yeah.
So the company was called Hashem Maktabi and Sons, Hashem being my grandfather and his sons. And I remember when I was a kid, we used to go there. There were like huge buses filled with, each bus with like 50 tourists. They would stop by the shop at the entrance of the shop and would go down, and they would go in like مظاهرة
داخلين, yeah.
كلهم داخلين. They would go and the salespeople would go with like packs of Pepsi and 7-Up, open for them and give everybody one like this, and then they will sit. My father would give a talk on the carpets. This is a type Turkish carpet, this is a Persian carpet. Everybody would choose one. They would be packed. They will pay on by credit card like the old way, and then they will be packed. They will write on every package by hand the name of the and the address of the
The
client.
person.
So there was going to Norway, going to the USA, going to Canada, going to Switzerland. So this was the early 70s, the business. This was from Beirut to all over the world.
And did you spend, you and your siblings, a lot of time in the shop? Yani, what was your first early exposure to this business?
So I used to go as a kid
Mm.
during my vacation time.
And work in the shop.
Was my playground.
Okay.
So I would go jump on the stacks of carpets, and then in the afternoon I would eat, and then I would sleep. I would nap, and then I would go back with my father at home in the evening. So I had like my bike outside the store, and I would play. But so it was ingrained.
Was it ingrained in all of you, or you as the male?
So funny enough, I was the only son to 5
Mazboot. That's what I
sisters.
meant.
So I was the one
Who went with
to
him?
be groomed as the
Heir apparent.
Fast forward to 95, my father was quite the open-minded person, and he had a lot of ideas, a lot of projects in his mind. They were all carpet related. So he wanted to do tribal carpets. He wanted to do antique and obscure carpets, and he wanted to do a lot of things. His brothers were more rigid in the sense of
They wanted the traditional business as it
the
was.
mother company.
Yeah.
And I was back then working for the mother company with my cousins. We were all working. I was based in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. We had a shop. In Switzerland, we used to sell wholesale for all of Europe, but I was based in Riyadh. My father decides he cannot wait anymore for his dreams to come true. So he opens a small shop, calls it Iwan Maktabi, and puts my two sisters there and fills it with tribal carpets and nomadic carpets
All the things he couldn't do
from his travels.
Yeah.
Why Iwan?
Mm.
This is his choice of name.
I was going to ask you.
Was very particular. He went to a professor of Arabic literature in AUB and asked him. He told him, "We are originally from Iran, but we are living in Beirut. I need to open a carpet shop for my daughters. What shall I call it? I don't want to call Abbas Maktabi and Sons like my father
Mazboot.
did." He said Iwan Kisra was the throne room of the Shah of Iran that was run over by the Arabs. It was the first Persian Shah, Persian Empire capital that was run over by the Arabs. The Arabs went inside the Iwan, the throne room of Kisra Anushirwan, and they discovered a great carpet that was adorning the throne room. It was so beautiful and filled, and inside it there were precious stones embedded in it. They cut it and took it back home to Arabia, and Al-Buhturi and other poets mentioned this carpet, which was called the Spring of Khosrow, in their poetry. So the Iwan was the first place where Persian and Arab cultures intertwined, and the story of a carpet came out of it. Your name should be Iwan Maktabi. And hence the name.
So this was on the side, and then what happened? Did the two businesses just separate completely? Did one die out?
So he took a small shop in Verdun, and classically it's a male-dominated business.
طبعا.
There were these two girls, Mona and Zena, fresh out of college, selling carpets, putting their touch, doing a beautiful window display, while other carpet entities were just, stacking carpets.
Yeah. The old school way.
Old school.
Yeah.
The business took off immediately. All of Beirut, they were, I won't say lining up, but like everybody was snatching. Every time they put a nice window display, people would go and say, I buy this. Where did this go? I want it. So I was between both businesses. I was helping my sisters because they didn't have experience in operating a business. So I would take off like a day, go and say, okay, let's do this. This is how you need to do the stock. This is how you need to do the accounting. This is how you do the bank account, stuff like that. And then the business grew so big, and I was in Riyadh, and I felt that I was needed in Iwan. So I tell my father, I'll take 1 year off, a sabbatical from the mother company. I will go. Let me help my sisters. Let us put some processes in the business, and then I'll return. I never looked back.
That was it.
That was it. I was 100% Iwan.
And that other business is still there?
So the other business eventually, so the rest of the cousins, like the uncles and the cousins, slowly, it withered away, like
Okay.
10 years. So everybody left like we did and opened something
Different.
or then they lost interest. Some cousins were not interested. They went into media, they went into tech and stuff like that.
That's an amazing story, huh? I mean, it
Yeah.
tells you also. So this is actually a great example of what I feel as an outsider. You and your siblings have done with this business since. Essentially, a constant process of reinvention. You went from, as you said, the stacking of the carpets, wholesale, old school style, to curation, essentially with window display, etc.
Well said, yeah.
And then you started introducing contemporary alongside traditional carpentry and rare and antiques and all of that, right?
So basically, what we had our ear close to the ground, so we'd always listen to what our clients were reacting to whatever we were offering. So, but it all started really with the vision of my father to follow what he loves. That was really the beginning. So we were trying. So when we would travel, I would seek, like my father was seeking, for something unusual, rare, not seen, and just go deep into it and not rely on something usual and classical.
But you were procuring, and I want to make the difference here that it was mostly procuring, whether it's rare or special, as opposed to producing. They're two different things.
Yes, we started selling our clients pre-existing
Mazboot,
carpets
exactly.
from tribes, from cities.
Exactly. You're giving me something I haven't seen.
That tell the stories of the people, and we were not creating.
That's what I mean.
As we advance, and we started growing the business more and more, and we started working with a lot of architects, and the interior architects and decorators are important for our business, because a lot of clients, when they have a new house, they ask for an interior architect to come and help them for decoration. Or for some projects, they need an interior architect to choose the carpets for this project. So we were working with more professionals, not only homeowners, and they were asking for things that were difficult to find. So I would go kill myself and find this rare, unseen antique serape in a specific size with ivory background or without a medallion, because most of the carpets had a medallion. I kill myself. I say, "Bayyid wajhi." Yes, here you are. I found it for you. He goes next week. He comes and says, I need another one the same. I said, "Are you serious? This is unique.
Yeah.
This is one off. How can I get you another
I
one?"
want more of the unique.
So basically, they were asking for a look that could be repeated and then to be changed according to their needs.
Yeah.
So the need to have a bespoke business just
Emerged.
emerged.
Yeah, it was a need.
I went to Nepal and I started doing like the rest of the big American companies who are in the carpet business, is create our own designs in Nepal. Because Nepal has a very old tradition of carpet weaving coming from Tibet.
Interesting.
So we were producing in Nepal, we were producing in Turkey as well, we produced in Afghanistan and Pakistan. All these areas where they would take our direction and give us product that is fitting our needs and demands.
And that's still the case today. Those are your production centers.
Yeah, still the case.
And I find that fascinating because now you've introduced another part here, which is your love of art. So I have, since I've known you, you've collected art. You're very involved in the kind of arts and culture scene, and you started collaborating with artists as well. And to me, this was very interesting because many of those artists did not think of carpets, did not think of mediums outside of their traditional mediums.
Yes.
Being, canvas and so on and so forth.
You see, everything happens by osmosis, especially in Beirut. In Beirut, the communities are close together. So we are close to the artists so when we go to exhibitions, we meet the artists, they come to our homes, we go to their studios. And we started appearing in Beirut. People started seeing us as the carpet company that is, how shall I say, preserving the craft of weaving.
Yes.
So when I sit with Ayman Balbaki and I talk about his paintings, we talk about carpets. So I say, why don't you, let's try. Shall we try and do your painting into carpet? So we did the carpet for Ayman Balbaki. We did a project called One Carpet for Love some 15 years ago, which is basically we did a list of people, artists and creatives, architects, and asked them to provide us with an image of a carpet they want to produce in any shape, form, material, anything they want. And we'd produce it, and then the first edition of this carpet would be sold, and the proceeds would go for charity. So this initiative was called One Carpet for Love. We work with a lot of artists, Marwan Sahmarani, we work with Bokja, we work with Orient 499. So we work with all the
So many.
creative names around us in Beirut. We worked for Etel Adnan, we did her tapestries. So we have a big roster of collaborations. We did with David and Nicolas, we did with Karen Shekirjian, we
Yeah,
did a
no, I mean,
fantastic
so
carpet.
many, so many.
So yes, so the list goes on.
How important is that for you? Because Beirut is in that sense a little village. And like you said, that sense of collaboration, collaborative spirit, the sense of community amongst the people, the creative community was very high. I grew up in Cairo, it was very similar. Everybody knew each other in that community, and therefore collaborations, which now we call collaborations, and it's very formal, where literally, you know,
It was just,
Muhammad goes and has
it's a
tea with X
conversation
بالضبط كده.
over
With
فنجان قهوة.
exact fingan قهوة, Etel maybe is there or one of her associates, and well, you know, let's think about that. Come over, we'll talk. And I think it's something obviously we are in some ways trying to replicate, or we want to create its own dynamic here in Dubai, because I think you don't have a cohesive community, and you don't have also the homogenous community we have. I mean, in Beirut, it's mostly Lebanese. In Egypt, it's mostly Egyptians, etc. I have a question for you, really, more than anything else. How do we try to create some of that here? That's not forced, that actually is organic.
Not force, you just added it at the end.
Yeah,
because,
this
yes,
is the most
because,
important.
because
no, that is the most important.
Yes,
the
because
first
I did.
one سهل. يعني I can بكرة الصبح Hashem Lighthouse Maktabi, and we put them inside. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm talking about
But
organic.
actually, I am living this now. As we speak, I'm living this not forced way. It's happening slowly but surely. Let me tell you why.
Please.
When I moved, so my business in Dubai started when we rented the shop with Dubai Mall. The day Dubai Mall opened its stores, it had an Iwan Maktabi in it. So this is probably 14 years ago. I used to go back and forth, but my sister was running the Dubai operation because I was concentrating on Beirut. After the explosion, I woke up one day in Beirut. I said, I want to live in a city that's operational. It was very personal. So I up and moved to Dubai.
Big step for you, huh?
So now I spent 6 months.
You are very embedded in Beirut.
I was very local.
Yeah.
I used to say I am in Beirut. Who wants
انت
me
العمدة يعني.
comes to me.
الشيخ العمدة. We all came to you. We all came to kiss the ring many times يعني. Sometimes you threw the ring at our face, but that's okay.
Hey, let's not talk about this ill-fated night, please.
بس لا يعني everybody, you're right. I mean, your house was somewhat of an open house. Everyone came by, a lot of friends, very, very generous. And you always came and meet people you didn't know. I met a lot of people in your circles from that creative community, which was great.
Beirut is a magical place that is very generous and gives a lot. So Beirut gave us a lot, that's true. But after this really painful day, and after the explosion, when my house was completely destroyed and I was in the house, I felt I needed, in order for me to process all this, I needed to be just a little
Was
bit.
it that day, Mohammed? Because this explosion?
No, it's actually 1 year to the day when we were celebrating when we were commemorating the first
That's
year,
when you left.
the 1 year explosion. This is the day I decided, I felt like the whole wall was falling on my back. I said, no. I fixed my house, I fixed my gallery, I fixed the other house, I fixed the other gallery, I fixed everything. Everything was back to normal. I said, I have to leave.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So 1 year, literally 12 months later, I moved to Dubai, rented my place in Jumeirah, which now is like my haven. And so I started engaging with the local community here. We took space in Al Circal. We called it our lab,
which is great. Yeah.
where we do our research and development, where we talk with creatives and talk about stories, how we can turn stories into carpets. And I did a project called Terminal G, Terminal Gulf, which was I picked with a curator. I picked creatives from all over the Gulf to tell stories of modern life living in the Gulf.
That's so interesting.
And we launched it last year in Downtown Design during Dubai Design Week. And we launched 4 collections with Sultan bin Fahd, who is a Saudi artist, with 2 sisters, the bin Daher sisters, who are from the Emirates, with a Kuwaiti conceptual artist. Her name is Asil Al Yaqub. And we are adding on this Terminal G. Every year we launch new collections. So how does this? So it was a bit forced because I had a curator. I gave the project a name. I identified the talents. We distributed the stories and asked them to translate them into carpet. How does this now is translate? How is this translating? People
Today, yeah.
now, today, I notice people knock on our door, or when they see, say, Muhammad, you're the one that I want to see. Say, "Khair, shufi, what's going?" Said, I have an idea for a carpet.
Mm.
So these conversations are
Starting.
starting. By nature, normally, just by meeting during a gallery opening or meeting in a dinner party, or somebody coming inside Al Circal and say, by the way, have a look, what do you think? Can I do this? Can I do this? So you have to start somewhere.
Sah.
So yes, we put the initial push,
That's great.
but now people look at us as enablers of translating a vision into
I love that idea.
a woven product. That's it.
I love that idea, and I love the concept of storytelling, because I mean, art in so many ways is telling stories and giving points of view, and people don't think of carpets necessarily or the woven medium
Yeah.
as the first medium when you think about that. So that's very interesting. And I mean, perhaps you needed to do it this way here because you needed to almost introduce the idea into people's heads.
So what we did is we kind of did what we have been doing in Beirut, slowly but surely over the years. We did it in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So we did exhibitions, we did projects, we did lectures on carpets, we did shows of historical carpets, we showed our private collection of antique carpets. We did, and Serkal gave us this
They're
platform.
fantastic like that.
The space was really nice for this. So people saw all of this, and they made their own conclusions.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it made sense here to have this type of platform almost for people to understand. And also because, frankly, I have experiences with the Lighthouse as well. We've been around for 6 years now. And we had to work a bit harder to create this sense of community.
I always say it's Dubai is like a millefeuille. There are layers and layers
true.
and layers, but these layers are not. There are no staircases between them.
That's very true.
So each community is living by itself and thriving, but sometimes they are missing this connection, this like invasion of one layer into the other, which happens in Cairo and Beirut.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I think that's very true. I am still, look, I've been living here since 2005. And until today, I still get, I get sense of communities that have, that you know nothing about.
Yeah.
Because it's so diverse, so many different nationalities. There are communities that congregate obviously by, race and nationality and all of that. And then there's communities that are creating on lifestyle.
But things are changing in Dubai. Things are changing. Now I notice, for example, if I go early to my Dubai Mall shop, so it opens at 10, but if I go at 9 and I walk, I see the same people. I see the same people. If I go to...
And that's the
Jumeirah
Dubai
Beach-
Mall community.
Yes. So basically, you know what it is? I discovered that Dubai Mall is a community center.
Yes.
People go there for their doctor, for their...
It's very interesting.
So it's actually a community center.
Yeah.
So they go for the doctor, for the pharmacy, to buy from the supermarket. So it's not just a mall.
مظبوط كلامك. حتى Mall of Emirates is the same.
Yeah, so it is a community center. Now, when I go to walk on the Sunset Beach, where I live, now I say hello to everybody. I see
Yeah.
people coming from Barari to walk every Saturday on the beach. So there is a community, but we just have to keep our eyes open.
So now that you're going to, can we talk about your plans, or is that something we can't talk
Yeah,
about?
sure,
Khalas, it's too late now. So,
sure, if you push, I'll
sorry,
shove.
sorry. When we come back, Mo and I talk about assimilating a creative community organically, why he's looking forward to the next generation of his family business, and more. That's right after this short break. Welcome back. You're listening to the Lighthouse Conversations with my guest, Mohamed Maktabi. Can we talk about your plans, or is that something we can't talk about?
Sure,
Khalas, it's too late now. So,
sure, if you push me in the deep end, yani, and then you ask me if I can swim.
Exactly. So now that you are moving to Jumeirah, which I think is a great idea, by the way, because I think Dubai Mall, I'm sure for you, was a great place to start. And not start. I mean, you spent what, 7 years? How many years have you been there?
No, it's 14
years.
yes.
Mazboot. But I do think you need a bit of that community center idea concept. And I think Jumeirah obviously has very much that communal feeling. And also, when I think of Maktabi, I feel like you need to be near the water and your own space.
You see, if I want to emulate what we did in Beirut and what we used to in our hometown, which is you pick the best shop location on the best street you can afford. You have beautiful window, you put your name, and you're open for business. Dubai offered us the Dubai Mall opportunity, which was really fantastic because everybody knew, like, not only the UAE, all the region knew Iwan Maktabi.
Well, non-regional as well, because it gives you any. I remember when we opened MOE, I always thought, D3 was very edgy and cool. But that's what people know. It's like, oh, you're next to Cartier and Apple, and it gives that cachet.
And you have this sheer number of people that are walking inside the mall every day. But I think having moved to Dubai, I felt I need my place. I need my neighborhood. I need my hood. And Jumeirah, because I live there, it's what I identify with. It has this Dubai vibe that I like and I identify with. And it was normal that we're going to move to our own standalone store in Jumeirah.
And would the idea of the store there be also a space that you use for all the things you talked about? Talks, seminars,
definitely.
events.
So we're creating, but it's going to be in under one roof.
Absolutely.
And our own... We have a flagship store in Beirut. Now we're going to have a flagship store in Dubai.
And are there plans for other flagship stores? Would you envisage more, or do you feel in the region?
Look, I'm still young and kicking, but I have no interest in invading the world.
Yeah, I like that.
So let's see what life offers.
It's very Wall Street 1990s to invade the world, by the way. I tried that, and it's passé, and it doesn't really work.
Let us be local, let us be regional, and I think that's good enough.
What do you feel you haven't explored? Because you are clearly someone, as I've said, that you and your sisters, frankly, I've admired how you've reinvented the brand. And in fact, continuous. I love that word, the sentence you use, that you put your ear to the ground and you're listening. When you put your ear to the ground now, what ideas come to mind that you feel you haven't explored as a brand?
People are... So I'm being pushed into trying out something that has to do with furniture, with wall art, with something is pushing us like this in this direction. I don't know how, because handcrafted weaving is at the core of Iwan Maktabi.
Yeah, but look at Bukja. Bukja must have started the opposite and moved into the reverse direction, right? So you can.
So as long as it's hand woven, as long as I can keep our craft people alive and proud of what they're doing, we can try.
Does it scare you though? Do you worry that you would? Because I remember when I saw Bukja, and we've had them on the podcast, by the way. It was a party.
Yeah,
we talk about
of course.
It was a party.
The two ladies are
it
forces
was a party
of nature.
and I cannot tell you. So I started doing couple therapy in the middle of it, and then I gave up.
Yes,
I was like,
I think
quit.
it's too.
I quit. I let you guys have the rest of the conversation. وأنا مروح البيت كلموني لما تخلصوا. It was something else يعني. They're fantastic. But we talked a little bit about having a core. When you start moving out of the core, it's nice and sexy, but it's also a bit scary.
It's a bit scary.
لأنك
It's uncharted territory, and but fear is also constructive.
صح.
I think I know for myself, I work best under stress. If you leave me, everything
Pressure.
is under under pressure. This is where I perform. If you leave me everything like you leave me for my time and this, nothing happens. You need to squeeze me into a funnel, and then you get
How
things done.
much do you, I know you're very involved in the creative process. How much do you worry about turning on the lights? So one of the things that we've seen in a lot of businesses like yours that are inherently creative is creative people, frankly, don't like to look at invoices and talk to banks and do all this stuff. But for a business like yours or any business to thrive, you need both. So how do you manage this gap?
Look, I think I have enough confidence these days that I know that when we create something, it's something that's going to be picked up by the market.
But
So
what if it doesn't? What happens? So let's walk through a process. I'm just curious because I think there could be people listening to us today that are as creative as also creative, thinking about starting a business, and what scares them is that you put out a product tomorrow morning, you put something, a new product, and it doesn't work. Market doesn't take to it. What happens?
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah,
I've never, you see, I've never had because we do handmade carpet, we don't do mass production.
صح.
So you don't push a button and you have
thousands
10
coming out.
tons of merchandise that you need to sell
It's a
immediately.
very good point. You already have a sense.
So, for example, we launched a collection I mentioned Taruda for the Ben Daher sisters. We launched 4 pieces, different designs, each one in one color. So so there was a lot of research and development and everything, but for the launch, we only had 4 pieces. I had my people already dye the wool and the silk and prepare it for orders for more, but that was the level of my commitment.
Very cautious.
So, but because this is the nature of handmade carpets, I cannot produce 1,000 square meter of carpets and then launch them. It just doesn't work this way because it takes a long time. So it was received positively. So immediately
You turned
we added colors to the collection. So we had only beige, gray, and pink. Suddenly we added copper, green, and yellow, and blue. And then I said,
go all out.
And still we cannot produce enough
amazing.
to have one of each carpets in Beirut store and in Dubai store. It's a handmade production. So it's never mass produced.
So does that mean that your because you have a commercial side to the business where you work with hospitality, hotels, restaurants, etc. Is that, as a nature of the business, less risky because Hashem, the lighthouse, commissions you for some, you know exactly what you're going to get, and there's no question of demand, supply and demand, or am I reading this wrong?
Projects definitely are more secure because you don't have to produce stock.
مظبوط.
So you just have to develop samples and techniques and provide the projects with a sample for them then to produce it. So from this side, we love the projects side of the business. But if I have to say something that we invest a lot in and it's very heavy on us, it's all research and development. For example, we are swimming with a sea of samples that we don't know what to do with. I have more than 10,000 samples. So this is our
Why
investment.
don't you produce an artwork out of the samples?
Wallahi, I tried. I'm still one artist. I don't want to mention his name. He said, I want to do something for you using all your samples. قلت له,
yeah,
please come. He never came back.
طبعا خاف. But I remember seeing this at Hermes where they use all the leather samples and they created a line of it. It was a bit lame, but I think you can do something much cooler than that.
Yes.
But if you have a sample, like you have all of these samples, I'm sure there's something that can be done.
Our samples. But some of them are still extremely relevant because we go back to them when we want to develop something new. But a lot of them eventually become obsolete and they're just stacked waiting for the great next idea.
How many of your sisters are involved in the business?
2.5.
2.5. مسكينة الهاف.
No, two, Shireen and Mona are fully involved, and Yasmin, who lives in Jeddah, whenever we do our pop-ups in Saudi, she's the one who takes care of everything. But when there's no pop-up,
Yasmin, if you're listening to this, I'm not the one who said it. Yani, he's the one who said half.
but
I think you're a full 100% full.
she agrees, يعني
So,
مش
okay, I'm going to say three sisters. So, this is a third generation business. Did you contemplate a fourth generation?
so funny enough, the fourth generation adores the family business. So there's
Interesting.
no rejection of the business, and
Shmana.
no, there's
They
I
have
don't
better
know.
shrinks,
I see. I don't know.
better therapists for sure.
We left a good impression on them or something.
No, because طبعا usually like you're right. You get this thing when I reject the business, when I don't want to have
Yes,
anything to do with it.
yeah.
And then when they're 50, they regret that they didn't get into the business. You don't have any of this.
No, I feel most of our my nieces and nephews actually look up to the business and have this emotional attachment and this pride in Iwan Maktabi. So, for example, I already have my niece Roya, who graduated as an architect, and she's involved. She does research for the lab for some of the cultural weaving techniques in the region that we are looking into. My niece Rida is our marketing director. So Rida is the fourth generation. She's the daughter of Shireen. She's gonna leave the family business for a few years just to return back to us with even more knowledge. I have my nephew Sharif, who works for Amazon in Seattle, who is very.
Tell him it's very enough Amazon.
He wants to.
This was maybe خلاص, it's enough. Sharif, please come back.
We're getting him back.
Okay, good.
He loves to create products because he's a product designer, and he adores sitting with weavers on the loom.
So I
So
was
this
going
is this is
so I was going
there's
to get to this
good
weaver's
hope
point.
for the fourth generation.
Because your business is so, and I'm going to weave it into the conversation about
Literally.
fourth generation. But the heritage element of this, preservation of heritage, is so vital, right? In the sense of these techniques. I mean, I want to hear from you. Are you seeing this being preserved, generally speaking? Are you finding it harder and harder? Are there pockets in the world where it is and others where it's neglected? And how do you think about this?
Yes, to all the above. So there is an increased interest in the craft of handmade carpets, but
globally,
it's in pockets.
Okay.
It's in pockets. Turkey, where we used to work with 150 villages that used to produce carpets, the number of villages has shrunk, the number of weavers has shrunk, but still there is the interest in the craft is still there.
And it's shrunk,
but it has shrunk because of the
industrialization.
Because the industrialization. So suddenly, we lost a lot of the weavers. And like big swath of villages, big numbers of villages, they all left and started working in factories and stuff like that. So we lost.
Is it typically, sorry about that, is it typically abban an gid? Is it inherited the same way you see with other techniques?
It can be, but it can also be, it's, from the community, people would come into weaving, then leave weaving. So some areas, as I said, like Turkey, because of industrialization, have lost a lot of their weavers, and because commercially the hand labor became super expensive. So you move to more populated people where there are more people willing to work this craft, because this craft is difficult. Don't get disillusioned. It's not super easy to weave carpets. It takes a lot of perseverance and patience and knowledge, and it doesn't pay much.
Yeah.
So this is why we try to elevate as much as we can, to do some carpets in limited edition or stuff like that, just to be able to even pay more for the weaver.
Do we still have pockets in the Arab world?
There are some tribes in probably there are very few in UAE, some tribes in Arabia, a little bit in Jordan, but very few. Egypt still has a few weaving.
Probably Egypt for local production. I'm assuming, yeah.
For local production, there's very small export, but yes, mainly for the local
companies like Oriental Weavers and those types of companies. It's a little sad because I feel like that is a very key component. Once if that dies out.
In the UAE, there's big efforts to preserve the weaving craft, but it's very challenging for it's very challenging in the modern way of life to have women still weaving in their homes when they are, taken by all these attractions of everyday
Everything, yeah.
modern life.
Yeah. What do you feel in that sense your mission is? If you think today about your business and you've accomplished a lot, alhamdulillah, what would you see is your mission?
I still have a weakness for antique carpets and heirlooms. So
It's a good weakness.
I have a passion for always finding this rare white unicorn of a carpet. So this is
And you
always
travel for them?
I travel for them. So so you have to know where to find them, be it sometimes in auctions, sometimes in private collections, sometimes when there is like a person dies and there's an inheritance. So you have to know where these jewels are at all time. And then there is the modern production. So my passion is to create something that I'm proud of, and that when people use it and somebody comes in the room and says, "Oh, wow, what is this?" So this always alive by keeping the weavers proud of what they do. I think this is
That's amazing. Could you ever see the company not being in the family hands? I'm just
in
curious,
these in
Yani.
these in these days everything is
Anything is
possible.
possible.
Everything is possible. Yeah, sure.
I'm just curious because
Yes,
obviously,
sure,
like any,
sure, sure.
I get asked this question, and our business is much younger than yours.
I mean, we are a carpet family, but I don't think Maktabi is the royal family of carpet. So if it goes into another, it's okay. If somebody is doing something good for the company and he's not
Okay.
holds the Maktabi name,
No, but it can also be the Maktabi name, just in, a larger company comes in and wants to,
yeah,
you see
sure.
this all the time. And do you see yourself in Dubai? Is this home? I mean, home in the sense of where you want to be, not home in the sense of like
Now I
emotion.
want to be in Dubai. That's for sure. My hometown is Beirut, and I'm always a little bit homesick for Beirut. Of course, I think you also adore Cairo,
For
even if
sure.
you don't want to live there today.
For sure.
So, of course, we love the chaos, we love the aj'a, we love the.
For 5 days. No, it's true.
No,
I
but
th-
now I have my house in the mountain. That is a game changer.
yeah, that's different. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a game changer. So I just built my outdoor kitchen, and I need to go and check on it.
I,
So
I think that's a great place to end. If there's any, we will please check on your outdoor kitchen with Minna, and we're
I'll
going to
send
be
you
very well.
pictures. I'll send you
Some
pictures.
Mohammed, thank you. That
Thank
was
you,
a great
Habibi.
conversation.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
If you enjoyed this episode, you'll also enjoy my conversation with some of Iwan Maktabi's collaborators, the ladies behind Bookshop, Hoda Baroudi and Maria Hibri, the one time my armchair therapy session went completely haywire, as well as my conversation with Milan-based Lebanese design wunderkinder Davide Nicolas. You'll find links to those episodes in our show notes. Thank you for joining me on The Lighthouse Conversations. I'm Hashem and we're produced by Chirag Desai. You can connect with us on Instagram at @thelighthouse_podcast for behind-the-scenes videos and more. Or visit us at thelighthouse.ee/podcast to listen to all our previous episodes.